Hey there everyone, this is Jeff Perkins with JD Cutlery, putting together another quick video on a little bit of a hodgepodge mix-up of different knives that I've just done some work on. So we'll just kind of run through these one at a time. We've got a Reate Horizon C Kaiser that I did for one of my better customers, a ZT0620, the regular version, not the carbon fiber, a ZT0620, and a Lionsteel TRE with the Chad Nichols Damascus blade. So let's go ahead and jump into these one at a time. Kind of give you an idea of what I've been doing. So we'll start with the ZT0708. We went with a purple blue fade with a bronze drizzle, and then we did all the hardware bronze as well. So backspacer, all the little proprietary star screws are done with the bronze, the WE emblem, all throughout. So buffed this one up nicely. These come in bead blasted, so they are a little bit more matted as they come in. You can see on that pocket clip it still has the WE symbol right down here in the end, but that's done nicely bronzed. Like I said, everything's buffed up, ready to go. Really like the feel of this knife. This one's very ergonomically designed. The finger cutouts, everything's contoured as well as the finger cutouts themselves. Sharp looking knife. Has that nice cut through. You got 3 holes drilled in it. Just aesthetics type stuff. These handles have been milled out on the inside. The video is not really picking it up very well, but it has been milled on the inside to reduce some of the weight. You're looking at S35 VN for the steel. This is a clip point with their black DLC coating on the blade. WE really doesn't do a whole lot of branding on their knives. Of course the pivot's there and that one little spot on the pocket clip, but on the blade itself they're really just telling you what the steel is. So a lot of people like that. We're at about 20% lockup on that. This one is a slight bit over to the non-lock bar side. It's pretty close to dead on center, but it's a slight bit over this direction. So not a big deal. With that pivot, that's a little hard to pull it over sometimes. Typically, if you want a blade to go that way, you tighten the screw on this side. Well, as you can see, the pivot on this side doesn't have a way to tighten it. So you're only tightening from the one side. But operation on this is perfect, nice and smooth. Have your bearing system, locks in beautifully. The weight of the blade, well, once you get past that detent, is enough to drop it. So just a very cool looking knife. These do come anodized by WE. They don't do much buffing, so the buffing is the step up, and then of course we've taken it to a whole nother level with the anodizing, with the fade and the drizzle. So that's where we're at on that one. Let's take a look at the little Lionsteel TRE real quick. This one comes with a nice cedar display box. Says Lionsteel Italy. Gives you all the additional hardware as well as the tool to take the knife apart. And it's cut out nicely, even a hole for the pocket clip. So it fits in there real nice. A sharp looking little display. I didn't drop it all the way in because I don't want to flip it over on camera. But that's the case it comes in. This is the knife itself. TRE is a smaller, I would call it more of a gentleman pocket carry knife. This one is done in a teal, and it has hints of purple kind of going through it. Don't know how well the camera is going to pick it up. You can see some of the purple hues going through it. The edges pick up some purple in spots. They've got some real nice milling on this one. Looks really sharp. Very smooth. Nicely rounded knife. I like that back spacer, how they've kind of skeletonized it so you can see down through. We did that and the pocket clip bronze. A very cool little knife. Now this is one that has the Chad Nichols Damascus on it. So very nice looking Damascus on that blade. Great pattern. You can take the flipper off and you can use it as a thumb stud knife. You can take the thumb stud off and use it as a standard pocket knife. Now this one, I will say, can be a little tricky on the opening. If you're not careful and you put your finger on that lock bar, it is not going to open. Even a little bit of pressure on that lock bar won't open it. So just my finger there makes it so that sucker doesn't go all the way out. Just the faintest bit of pressure there makes it a problem. So you need to make sure as you get used to this knife, you keep in both of those two fingers, this one and this one, right on the pocket clip. If you've got that on the pocket clip, you're not going to have any problem flipping that thing open because it is nice and smooth. Even as light as that blade is, it'll fall down into position. So something that I want everybody to be aware of, because this is one that if you're not used to it, you're going to get it and you're going to say, oh man, this thing's just not opening, look at this. That's not the case. As long as you keep your fingers off of that lock bar, you won't have any problem. I did have to do some adjusting on it, but that's where we're at. It is a smooth flipper. It definitely is right on the money as far as centering goes. The pivot is tight. It's been Loctited in place. You can tighten that pivot more, but as soon as you tighten the pivot more, it becomes harder to flip. There is no need to tighten that pivot anymore because that blade is solid. So there's always a fine point with how much to tighten these knives, even with pivots and bearings and all that good stuff. There's always that fine point of the perfect spot for the knife to be tightened. A lot of times I go snug and then I go about a quarter turn back to let it flip nicely and make sure it's not too tight. We're not grinding the bearings into the titanium or the blade or anything like that. So that's my rule of thumb with it. As long as you've got it tight enough that that blade doesn't wobble at all and that your pivot's not going to loosen out and you're as centered as possible, then you're in the right place. This knife is adjusted perfectly for the way it is. Again, it's just, if you've got a real big hand, this is probably not the knife for you. If you keep your finger, like I said, just a little bit, well, that time it actually flipped okay, a little bit on that lock bar, you're going to have problems. But it's nice and loose. It goes back and forth nicely. I like that they did 2 screws for the lock bar insert. And they've also got their cool little pivot there. So you've got kind of a design on this side, and then your Torx on this side. It's a number 8, and it's got that kind of 3D machining on the top of the pivot as well. So again, I just want to make sure everybody's aware that you've got to have your fingers on that pocket clip for this knife to work properly. So for that reason, I might discount this one a little bit just to blow it out, but I would just like to make sure everybody's aware of how the knife operates before they get a hold of it. Okay, so now we're going to go into a little bit more of a kind of wild apocalyptic finish. I was just kind of messing around last night and found some different, I would say, like rough apocalyptic type looking finishes that I was playing with. And I'm not sure how well the camera is doing this one justice. This one's got purple with almost an iridescent blue shooting through it, some coppers in it, as well as it's got a real nice copper bronze stonewash to it. So lots of different layers of color and depth in the feel of this one. The purples don't always pop as nicely on camera as they do in the knife in person, and that's definitely the case. Lots of purple running through here, purple running through here, kind of coppery bronze here, a nice speckling of bronze from the stonewash. These are the ZT0620s, Emerson collaboration. Got that wave feature on it. This one is the DLC coated, so it's got the LMAX blade, G10 handle on the other side, steel liner. Of course, you've got your steel lock bar insert. Lockup on this one is pretty good. You're about 45% on it. This one is a slight bit over to this side as far as the blade goes, but not a true issue. As you can see, it's not rubbing, not really an issue. These run on bronze washers, no bearings in this one, so you've got that bolt design. It's very easy to over tighten this one so it doesn't flip. I'm a fan of flipping this with my thumb, or of course with the wave feature. I've sold many of these over the years. I've had a couple people that they just go to open it and they push on that lock bar with this front finger, and the detent is just crazy to get it to let go. Pull off of that pocket clip, or pull back to that pocket clip, and it's going to open all the time. I'm a thumb flipper on it because it's just easy to flip, and it makes sure that my fingers aren't on that lock bar. As you can see, well, the action is good. I can flip it with my finger on the reverse side, no problem. So that's not an issue. Just a cool design. These have been discontinued. This is the last one of this version I've got. I do have one of the carbon fiber versions that's got the steel blade. I think it's a CTS204P in that blade. I'm probably going to hold on to that one for a while. This was one of my favorites of the zero tolerance line, especially the originals that had come out. There you've got your Emerson design, LMAX steel, and 2463. So this one's up for sale, kind of my purple blue apocalyptic look. This one I did up for one of my customers. It's a Kaiser Quicksilver. Did a nice green with a heavy bronze stonewash. Then I heat bronzed all the hardware to match it nicely. Really turned out real nice. I'm actually pretty happy with this. This is one I'm thinking about ordering a couple of these because it's not the most expensive knife out there, but you got a good sized knife with a titanium handle. It does run on bronze washers, so it's not quite as smooth as bearings. And this one is a little goofy. If you get back here, your finger slides off. If you're up on top and in front and do that light switch, she flips perfect pretty much every time. So just something to be aware of with it. There is no steel lock bar insert on it, so it is a titanium directly on the blade. But she centered up really nicely. I mean, this is a good lower price point titanium handled knife. Of course, it is a Kaiser. It's made in China. But for the money you're paying for this knife, I don't know that you're going to beat it. One thing I will be doing, I can't wicked edge right here because of the recurve, but I'm going to go ahead and hit this flat area up here with the wicked edge for him. So that'll be crazy sharp. This is one he's going to carry a lot and use pretty good. So we'll give him that main cutting point with a nice wicked edge sharp blade. And of course, threw on a lanyard just because it's easier to get in and out. Okay, last one on this video. We have a Reate Horizon C. This one, again, I was kind of that apocalyptic, make it look crazy, go ahead and bronze, stonewash it, and everything. So we went with a blue-green fade, and there's some marbling through the fade, some splotchiness through the fade. Then we went with a bronze drizzle that actually bronzed and purpled and did all kinds of different stuff. So the drizzle has a lot of variation in it. These do have steel screws and pivot and everything. I did heat bronze those to really add to the effect. The pocket clip is milled titanium. And it turns out the little barrel spacers, it's got a steel sleeve and the outside is titanium. So I was able to bronze those and give it the effect. This side again, you have the blue to green with splotches through it, some marbling in the blue-green background, and then the drizzle that has that purpley flaked off. Almost looks like the drizzle could be a two-tone, like the drizzle was peeling away. You've got the bronze, it's a little brighter, and then that purpley background in some of the areas. It's definitely a little different looking. Standard Reate Horizon C, flips like crazy. Bearing system in the pivot. S30VN in the blade. Lockup is at about 30%. Centered nicely. Can't go wrong with this knife for the price point. If you want something that you're gonna take out and use and beat up and that kind of thing, this is a good working knife. It'll work well for you. This crazy beat up anodizing job I did on it will hide a lot of the wear as you carry this knife and beat it around and use it. So it should hide the wear very nicely. So that's pretty much it for this video. Like I said, kind of a hodgepodge, everything from ZT to Kaiser to Reate to Lionsteel, all the way up into Damascus blades. So these are all posted on our website. Feel free to check them out. We are at www.jdcutlery.com. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.